Me again with a new Geology video, so yeah. An advert on my phone, so yeah. The joys. So yeah, today's Geology video is all about geology. Something I know only so much about. And from a geography GCSE, which I got a D in, which isn't too bad considering. But yeah. So here we go with what is geology? Now geology is the science that deals with like the physical structures and substance of the earth. Like the history and the processes which act on it. It can be like geographical features of a district, like geology or like a planetary body. Sorry, friend. So yeah, as you can tell, you can't just you don't just apply geology to our own planet, but you can apply it to like other planets. No, it's comes from like a late 17th century modern Latin word of geologia, but which comes from the Greek word of ge, meaning geography, and logi, same thing. So yeah. And it's like, for more of a definition, geo can kind of mean earth, and all. It's like geology being the study of. And can be like something simple as like something that can be like as complex as it is. And it's like in a studying term, geology involves like material that make up the earth, the features, the structure is found on earth, as well as like the processes that act on them. As it deals with like the history of like the life that's ever lived on it, and like how it's come up to now and how it may change over time, past, present, and future. And it's like geology is kind of split into two different areas, like physical geology and historical geology. And it's like where physical geology deals with like the study of physical features of the earth and the processes acting on them now. Like in historical kind of studies the history of what has already been, and how things have like the Earth's foundation, how things change through time. There's like everything is like essentially encased in like the rocks and all. Like previously, from like previous volcanic eruptions, earthquakes. Yeah, like where like previous oceans were and previous continents. Yeah, so geology first came in of interest as far back as ancient Greece, like the 4th century BC. as like Aristotle was one of the first people to make observations about the planet, and it was the first time like scientists and philosophers noted between the difference between like rocks and minerals. So yeah, from that the Romans came adept at mining like certain rocks to build their own empire. And then it wasn't until like 17th century or 1600s where fossils were being used in a way that helped us understand how like what happened on Earth over time. And this again came into how we came all in debate about how old Earth is. There's like a lot believe it's about the 4.5 billion years old. And it's like as the debate about how old Earth was debatable between like geologists and scientists, and like some geologists and scientists and theologians. As theologians believe that the Earth was about 6,000 years old at the time, while scientists believe that it was like a lot older. And then in like the 18th century, when scientists started to focus on the minerals ores, since mining was an important part of like global economies. And it's like during like the same century, two major theories came out explaining some of the physical features of the Earth. As one theory believed that all the rocks were deposited by the oceans during flooding events, while the second theory believed that not all the rocks were. Second theory being that not all the rocks were carried by the oceans and like bodies of water, but that some rocks were being formed through like heat and fire, like the rocks that come out from volcanoes and all. And like that debate kind of carried over into like the 19th century until like someone called James Hutton had proved that some rocks are volcanic rocks, which use like a volcanic process, and others are formed by like sedimentation, where like the water carries little particles and deposits them, and then just this doesn't disturb them for a while. Hutton kind of explained that all the processes we see today are the same processes that happened in the geological past, and that they occurred slowly. It's like as it kind of explained it, the erosion that's occurring today is like the same process of eroding mountains like back then. And the theory became known as uniformitarianism, which is simply stated as the present is the key to the past. And as a result, James Hutton became the father of modern day geology. And it's like once uniformitarianism, it's a bit of a mouthful, was accepted by the scientific community, all geology pieces started to fall into place, and geologists began to understand how fossils could help date the Earth and the different rock layers called strata, as the fossils kind of acted as markers, allowing geologists to place them in order of occurrence, which allowed them to correlate the rock strata found over great distances and help them to understand changes in the life over time and changes in the Earth's environment through time. As there was once a continent called Pangaea, which was essentially all the continents we know today all stuck together kind of thing. The next leap they had was in the 1900s or 20th century, where a scientist named Alfred Wenger proposed a theory called the continental drift, where Wenger suggested that the continents moved around on the surface of the Earth and came together to form the supercontinent that I mentioned just now called Pangaea. As he cited many pieces of evidence to back up his theory. It was to him, the continents, many people see today as the continents kind of fitting together like a puzzle, as the same rock unit or fossil can be found on both sides of oceans, or similar features can be found on continents where they were all together, where they might have suggested they were all together at one point or another. And he suggested that the continents floated or drifted to their positions now in the present day positions, but he couldn't explain how all this happened. And the scientific community rejected his theory until the 1940s, when there was a kind of technology boom that was associated with World War II. Brought some advances to sonar and radar, and in 1947 two geologists mapped the ocean floor, which revealed evidence of oceanic crust is created at mid-ocean ridges and all. Now this became known as the seafloor spreading, and these mid-ocean ridges are found at the bottom of oceans, and are major cracks in the oceanic crust. There's from what I remember of GCSE geography, there's two different types of crust, oceanic crust, which is underneath all the underneath all the oceans and all of the world and all that. And from what I can remember and all, but I think they can kind of sink into the core and all that. And then there's the crust and the we all live on land, which is slightly different and is made of lighter material. And from what I can tell, it doesn't really can't really sink into the core or something like that. This is bringing back memories. It's as the oceanic crust can kind of come from mid-ocean ridges, the one in the middle of an Atlantic Ocean that you can probably see on Google Maps and all. It's the mid-Atlantic ridge is one I'm thinking of. Now I can kind of see it on Google Maps and all that. It's these mid-ocean ridges are generally found at the bottom of the oceans, the deepest parts, and are major cracks or vents in the oceanic crust. And magma from the mantle pushes its way up through these cracks and kind of pushes everything away from each other. As it does, it pushes the existing crust, causing the continent to move as put it into perspective, like Africa is moving away from like South America and all that. And so like, and this kind of led to the theory of plate tectonics, which is based on the idea that Earth isn't like just one ball, it's kind of like broken into plates. And these plates are a response to the seafloor spreading. It's like, I think of it like an egg with like cracks in it, like the plates and the cracks are all called boundaries. And the same principle kind of applies to us. And if we could kind of get rid of all the water, we could kind of see it. Now, I think you can kind of see some, as I think one kind of runs through Iceland. Now, no wonder, now it's like, I kind of think Iceland's kind of like a geologist's heaven and all that, considering there's like an island that's kind of formed out of mid-ocean ridge and kind of has many not earthquakes, I think it does have earthquakes kind of. Has many volcanoes that geologists can go and study and all that. So yeah, this is me. This is the end of this video, and I'll be back very soon with the news. So yeah, bye for now.